Come on, come on. Welcome to the best ball show, the best of the West Coast. With you today is Peng's Picks from Stochastic and Fantasy Six Pack, and brought to you by Hope Bishop. How you doing, Hope?
I love how you never warned me.
Well, I'm not supposed to warn you, otherwise it's not a surprise.
Oh my goodness. I don't do good with surprises, but you know what, Davis, I am doing good. I'm doing good. Jeez, did not see that coming. But no, how are you? How's your week? I know we just talked on Tuesday and of course all day, every day in our chats, but how you been?
Oh man,
How's your
I'm
Thursday?
good. I'm good. Just surviving another day, scraping a couple more dollars so I can enter a couple more contests. And then other than that, that's basically it. Sorry, I was super random. I came down the spot. I was like, it'd be funny. Like pitching it really terribly.
Funny is a way to say that. I feel like I was getting announced for a baseball starting lineup.
It's like the
or
Coney
something.
Island type of thing, like the guy that's always trying to like sell you on something. It's like this is like the miracle hair growth. This is the best ball show to fight all your sleepers.
What's up, FFG? All right, let's get into the show. So the big news of the day: Dalvin Cook was released. We've kind of been expecting this release traded. What was your initial takeaway? Some of the teams we've seen linked to him. Obviously, the thumbnail was a little bit Dolphins themed, as Dalvin himself posted a picture to his Instagram story in Miami.
Please don't. I don't need it. I like Dalvin Cook, but I can't. I cannot add another like 28, 29, some another running back to our roster of guys that we've taken from other teams, right? Like it's too many of them. Yeah, and I think Dalvin Cook is probably better than all the guys that would have came in the past. Like you're talking Chase Edmonds, Jordan Howard, and
He's
Frank
better.
Gore.
Sure.
Better than all of that. Arian Foster,
Jeff
Adrian,
Wilson, Raheem Mostert, he's better.
yeah. So, but I just like. I hope he goes somewhere else. Like he should go to Denver. I think him in Denver would be hilariously good. I'm sorry for you P Ryan guys, and I do think P Ryan was someone I've been buying, but I'd rather have him go somewhere else.
Yeah. What's up, Andrew? I think that's totally fair.
Nate gets it.
Nate,
Tony, such a newspaper on the corner.
oh my goodness. I think that's totally fair. I think Denver, that would be an interesting situation. Him and Javonte, we still don't know, right? Like that's
We don't know.
it's so scary. But yeah, I think it's gonna be Miami at the end of the day. I like
very
the draft philosophy, and not that this doesn't really apply to this situation because I know the context is different. But one of my favorite like NBA drafts, like I don't know what you would say, but like don't let good players prevent you from drafting great players, right? Like if you've got a good point guard and the best player in the draft's point guard, you take the best player in the draft. You don't care about that stuff. That's a philosophy that I go by, but it's a little different. I get with like the running back room Miami has, and running backs being a very replaceable position. But I don't think anyone in Miami prevents you from bringing Dalvin Cook in.
I don't say A-Chain is, or Achane, whatever his name is, but like you just spent your third round pick when you didn't have many picks on him. It's like, I just feel like it's just goofy. Like I feel if the trade didn't get done in March like it was expected to when they were talking about it, then what do you do now? It's gonna be 4 running backs on this roster. 4. I don't think I even have 4 of my Madden teams. Like it's like where it doesn't even matter. Like it's just so bad.
Yeah.
Go somewhere that's relevant to you. I do agree with Andrew, that state taxes is a big deal. That's how Miami has always wanted free agency.
And he's from Miami.
Yeah, he's from there, but it's always like, hey, like come to us. We'll give you 50 mil and you get to keep it. And everyone's like, oh, you're right, you suck, but I do get 50 mil. So they'll just come to it. So it's very plausible. I just don't like it.
Yeah, as someone who lives in a state with no income tax, they still get their money. Trust me, some way, somehow. All right. Any of the other free agent running backs? There's been no movement of these guys, right? Zeke, Lenny, Kareem Hunt. We've been speculating on them all offseason. Do you have one of those 3 you've been drafting? Any landing spots? Anything like that?
I've touched straight up 0 of any of those guys. I'm not touching Hunt. He just was not good last year. Not a locker room guy. He's also on the fritz. Like he's been on the news like for really random things in the past, like crying that his watching the Chiefs make the Super Bowl and was mad in the Browns locker room or something weird like that. And he just wasn't looking that good. I think Fournette and Zeke have the best shots at jobs, and I think anyone drafted them, like power to you. I think you're gonna get that payoff at some point. I think I don't know where that is.
Yeah.
And I also don't want it to because I don't want to kill my other exposures. Like right now, like as Terrence says, like I'm kind of screwed because I have Mostert and Wilson in a lot of my teams. So like if Dalvin Cook goes there, he either if I drafted them together, it kills them. If that it does because then I'm gonna have 2 or 3 of the same running backs on one of my teams.
That's fair. Yeah, especially if you took two of those trying to get that one position.
Yeah.
Um, I just think, yeah, I kind of, if this is what William is saying, like, I don't think the expense you paid for Cook and for Wilson on the same team, for example, like, I think that's kind of a handcuffing situation. That's not the worst. It's not the most expensive. I get what you're saying, though. Just the fact that, like, a room of three, you're trying to bet on two of the three becomes, two of the four and just makes everything sloppier
But
and
what if you
gross.
check A Chain? Like, how good do you feel if you have Cook and A Chain on your team? Like, that just feels terrible. Like, and it won't
I
be
don't know.
terrible, but it just doesn't feel good. One's at pick 70 and the other was pick 110. I don't like doing
I
that.
think it's a decent point. I need to dive into their contracts and see what the dead money would be and stuff. But
Yeah.
do you think one of them gets moved or cut if they bring in Dalvin? That can clear things up.
It's very plausible. I think one of them does get cut. That's what,
Yeah.
but I also just think that's just going to be weird if they do that. It just makes a lot of drama to do that for your team. I mean, it would make sense if he went to like Denver or he went to the Jets or something where they got a guy off ACL tear. Um, Also, like I said, I just don't know. I'm not too stoked about it. If he ends up in Miami, great. I'll have a good running game for a year. It'd be nice because I do think Dalvin's good enough, and I
Yeah.
think that there's a good enough set of weapons to get him going. He was inefficient last year, but he's like good inefficient. You're like, oh, cool. I got him at round 7, round 8, and he somehow got 100 yards because he broke one off, which he did last year. He just randomly broke off like 80-yard runs, and you're like,
It's kind of
damn it.
always been the Dalvin Cook thing, I feel
Yeah.
like.
So sign me up for all that.
So
Um,
so
yeah, go
next
ahead.
next thing, I'll just go down the show sheet here. The Pick'ems, season long Pick'ems on Underdog got released today.
I'm
I
stoked.
know I know we both dabbled in them a little bit. We made some that hopefully we'll see if we win in 6 months.
My Trevor Lawrence Jimmy Butler special I thought was just super funny. I was just like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna get
Yeah.
done with it.
I mean, it would be funny. Did you see the idea someone had in our fantasy chat that to when you get a special, bet one side of the line with a special, and then when they release another NBA special or something, do the other side of the line so you guarantee you win. Obviously, it would be small profits because you can only max, bet a
Like
$20 or
$5.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah, on a
that's
special.
hilarious.
But yeah, so I don't know. It's cool. Are you gonna dabble in those any? Do you do any like futures bets
I
and
mean,
stuff?
definitely. I used to do this a lot on prize picks and I actually did pretty well. I think when I did them last time I kind of got burned a little bit just because of things you can't foresee like injuries or some guy getting benched or whatever, right? Like I don't track that as real losses. At least in my mind, I don't. If a guy gets injured for the season, that's not your fault, right? Like Keenan Allen getting injured is not what wasn't good. He still played pretty well. So, but I definitely did it. I did my Trevor Lawrence and Jimmy Butler. So that's gonna be hilarious when it pays out in December.
Yeah.
But I did two. I did one for $50 and one for 200. I think I said you had the 200 one, and my $50. And I actually like what DJ Mitchell from the hockey side, amazing pick'em guy. He was just like Deshaun Watson's at 3,600 passing yards.
Yeah.
He's done that every year. And what he did, I thought was cool, was he correlated the picks. He's
Yeah.
like, he threw on Cooper, he threw on Elijah Moore. I was just like, you know what?
No, that's the way to play them because
That's the way to play.
they are injuries at the end of the day. They're not
I
pure
correlate it with the
bad
guys
situation.
I bet on in best ball. So like if I'm betting on Brian Robinson, I'm picking him in Brian Robinson. So I'm getting my double whammies.
I did some. I
Um,
did some Damien Harris. I did Damien Harris, over on the rushing yards paired up with a couple other things. But I think that's gonna be fun. I think closer to the season, once we get some injuries, I think those will be some fun things to sweat throughout the whole year. Some fun entries to do. But I think that's a pretty cool thing they added. I like it. It's interesting. My initial take was like, man, I want to take unders on all of these. Then we did find out there is a minimum 5 games played. So, the unders are pretty smart if you do the normal style of betting because
why would you take unders though? Like we have all these guys on our team. And the last thing
the
I want
unders
is
are
like,
lame. I get it. No one likes them, but
but some of
um
these unders are tough too. Like, I mean, are you really gonna take an under of like DJ Moore under like 800 yards. Like that's like a crazy
No.
under. I'm
I do
not
it
doing
more
that.
stuff so for the running back just because the injury risk and then missing time.
I
I
think the
that
touchdowns of running backs is the hardest one. I think those miss a lot. You're asking
yeah,
for like 10 touchdowns and stuff from some of these guys. That's crazy.
it is.
Um,
So
well,
we wanted to talk about high stakes a little bit too, and we're gonna get in
oh,
the
before you
draft
go,
here.
well, give us a pick. What's one of your like? This is my surefire. Uh,
My surefire.
Give me your surefire. Who's your surefire for
Oh,
over under?
Damian Harris over 550 and a half rushing
All right,
yards.
you
I
guys
like
heard
that
it.
entry, and I like pairing that with Ramondre Stevenson over 6 rushing touchdowns.
I was gonna give my Coney Island talk and be like, Hope Bishop says Damian Harris over 550 yards. Go get get your monies. That's a
But
good
no,
one. I
yeah,
took that one too.
yeah, it's a
I
good
actually
one.
took Derek Carr with 23 touchdowns. I thought that was just goofy. 23 touchdowns is not hard from any passing quarterback that's relevant. If you're, I just can't think of any like relevant quarterback that plays 17 games that is at least a franchise level that doesn't get 23 touchdowns.
I think that's fair. Yeah, I don't think that's a crazy line to take the over on either. I expect Carr to hit that.
There we go. That's 2 bets, guys. Go ahead and put your pick'ems in, and if you win, great. If you don't tag us if you miss. Please don't. I feel absolutely terrible. You're like, oh god, 7 months from now, some guy's gonna be just like, remember that time, Davis? You said Derek Carr was gonna get 23.5 touchdowns.
So as we get into our drafts here, how are your high stakes going? Or first off, are we ready to hop in?
Yeah, let's
I
get ready
think
to
we
hop
are.
in.
All
All right,
right,
guys.
just let me
We're
know
good.
the
Entering the
race to see if we get it the same
puppies.
one. All right, you're entering now.
Yep, go. Oh no.
Ooh, 784. Did you get
Oh
in
god.
the one
I
before?
got into the other one.
Oh, no.
Oh, I missed both. Oh no. Well,
Oh, I got the
I'm a lot.
101.
Of course I'm
Like,
112.
let's just
Oh,
draft this one together. Let's pivot. Let's just pick this one together while you do your other one on your phone.
well, I have 2. So I'm in double overflow. I'm in underflow and overflow.
All right, well, we're drafting this one together then.
I was the 12th person in your other one, and then I was the third in the second one. So I probably have half the overflows on both ends.
That's funny.
Oh, I'm so screwed. I think at the 101 you should be taking a Nick Chubb, as our buddy James did today to prove a point.
You didn't. You missed it twice.
I think that's a first. Is that a first on like streams where you just double miss?
Yeah, I mean, because we've missed before, but then at least got in one at the same time. So this will be fun. We'll draft one together. We haven't put our heads together in a draft in a couple weeks. So I think this will be
Okay.
fun.
All right. So my 101 is Justin Jefferson. I'm not sure if you heard this one before. What is it? 14%? What's it like?
It's nice. I gotta admit, it is nice. That
I
percentage
have
going up.
I have 9% total, 6% in BBM. It's pretty bad. Let me tell you what 27% CD Lamb looks like at BBM. Oh
That's funny
god.
though. But yeah, this will be fun. What do you think about this? Thoughts on puppies being a time box, therefore uniqueness plays are more powerful. I agree with this because in BBM, like I listened to some people were discussing in our chat today about um taking a certain player at 2 when they usually go 4 or 5 because you're trying to get different, but then you never know how ADP will shift in something like BBM that's open the whole time. But yeah, in one of these time box contests, I think it makes total sense to do that.
Well, I'm happy for you, Nate. We could be in this draft together, my guy. Uh, anyway, sorry to answer the question. I would say,
This question, by the way.
yeah, the time box one. I do think it's weird. ADP shifts all the time, like consistently shifting. You know, Marquise Brown in Puppy 1 is average ADP 80. Marquise Brown Puppy 2, 75 to 60, right? Dalvin Cook is now technically overly drafted versus underly drafted. Like it's gonna change on its own. I don't think you have to try to get unique in that regard, and that uniqueness will just occur based on that draft. I don't think many people are like going out of their way to be unique. I like to think people are, but push comes to shove, there's a reason why a lot of our exposures are kind of the way they are. When
Yeah.
you people pull up exposures, I rarely see someone that's like 8 across the board, if that's even possible, right? So I think you just get unique in time because the board gives you uniqueness. You're gonna draft at different spots. You're gonna have a different opinion about somebody last week to this week. Last week, everybody hated, Chig. This week, everybody loves Chig. Next week, it's like you
Yeah.
just kind of get there. But the time box is helpful for a different reason. It helps you get if you're doing BBMs while you're puppying at the
Yeah.
same time. You will then have a different set of teams. So like I've seen like my puppy ones just perform well in the puppy one, but terrible in the BBMs. And vice versa, my puppy twos are because the way the teams
Oh
are
yeah, no,
drafted
that
are
makes
in some of
total
the time
sense.
frames.
Right.
Yeah, some
Yeah,
of the
because
time frames.
the competition. Yeah.
The competition, like I dominated it, but my total points are probably not as high. Like I have a lot more 16, 40 point teams in my puppy ones versus my 1700 point teams in puppy three. So things like that I like to think about a lot. So I think you get uniques on your own.
It must be annoying. We've got so many different drafts going, and the fact we're not in the same one that we got different people at the 12 spot in different drafts. No, we got the 11, the 12.
I got
Three
the
different.
103 in one and 12 in the other. So I guess it's not the worst. I took
It's not.
Cooper
It's
Cup
not.
at three. It's probably one of the few times I've done that.
Got a
But
super wide receiver heavy draft happening here, and this one we're drafting together.
but yeah, so that I think the time box thing is like relevant if you're mixing them with BBM because then your teams are gonna always be different just
Yeah.
because of time. It's gonna be the case. Um, but doesn't always mean like the uniqueness is good or bad either. So yeah, we always like to point to Pat Corain like winning like BBM, but if you like saw my puppy ones, like there was a guy that won by 40 points ahead of like number second place. He won with like 197 points. It was like just straight domination. So I guess that uniqueness comes in time too for that also. So because you have a different mindset.
We're coming back around here in our draft we're doing together. We got Jettas at the 1. Some running backs go off the board right before we pick here.
Higgins.
Higgins goes.
Hate you.
Let's see. I like Ramondre. I like Henry. Go both those backs. We could do
Yeah,
something with the quarterback here. Get a little different. I don't know.
I would skip the QB.
Yeah, I don't
I'd
love
rather
doing that.
I would grab Henry and Ramondre. I mean,
Yeah,
meet in the middle.
I think that's who I would want here.
Yeah, I've been having a hard time cooking quarterbacks. I've done it a few times. I hate it though. I feel like the 101, like this is a good example right now. In a lot of my 101s recently, I rarely see a wide receiver come back. Even some of my 102s, I rarely see a receiver come back. I used to see them almost every other draft. Now I'm probably seeing 1 in 5 that I see like Olave, Higgins, Devontae come back. Now I get all the quarterbacks, all four of them or all three of them, and then all the running backs. And I'm just like, great. I wish I had some of those nice BBM 101s earlier so I could
No,
have
yeah,
a Devontae Smith, Higgins, JJ team, which I don't get now.
absolutely. While we're waiting to come back around, we talked about Underdog. If you're not playing on there and you want to use promo code HOPE, that would be a blast. Also, if subscribe to this channel, it really helps us out. Really appreciate it. As we wrap back around here. So at the 101, do you find yourself double tapping RB a lot? Are you mixing in? Are you ever doing double receiver here? Because I know Metcalf's a bit of a reach, or Ridley.
I've been grabbing Ridley a little bit. I've been double
Interesting.
RB2, and then I've also grabbed quarterback Andrews just to really mix it in. So I'll be like Mahomes into Andrews and JJ. It's just like, here we
Yeah.
go, like triple elite, and then like run it and see what I get. It lets me think about a lot less things down the road, and I can punish into Drake London, Terry McLaurin, Drake London into DJ Moore. I like to think about what my 4-5 come around options are a lot, or my 6-7 options. So I have been actually, as much as I don't care for elite quarterback or elite tight end, I've been punching into it just to get that variance. Like I said, at that point, the draft has forced me to be different. I could grab running back there, but I'm just like, screw it. I'm just gonna go and punch these other spots and be unique just because the board made me unique.
I think that's fair. I definitely think for me, this kind of like Jetta's anchor and then double RB tap there is kind of like my comfy picks with the 101.
Yeah.
But I definitely don't mind mixing it up. I've done a lot of like my first BBM was like a Jetta's T, and then I think I did Josh Jacobs at that time. but I ended up with Kirk and Burrow. It's a really fun team.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I've have a Higgins, Jettis, Patrick Mahomes team, and I was laughing because I was like, "Cool, I got Week 15 and Week 17 correlation. Like, here we go. Like, I'm gonna win. Like, so it's been interesting.
this is a
We've
good question.
got a question from Madison from Williamsburg.
Yeah, that's gonna mention that we talked about Dalvin Cook, but we really didn't talk about the flip side of it, the Minnesota backfield side. How are we
Pick
feeling
60.
now?
I think he's a pick 60 guy. I
Yeah,
The question is, how early do we see him go? I think he's pick 50, pick 60. I'm not sold on it, but I don't think this is a cause for concern to not draft him anymore. Because we've heard this talk come up, right? Like, um, people are like, well, now that his price is up, I can't draft him anymore. Like, first off, like BBM is like 17% full. You can still draft a ton of Madison if you're really in on him.
yeah,
And also you still got Puppy 3, Puppy 4, Dalmatian 2 to 7, Poodle 15. Like, you have so many contests where you are not going to get burned for taking Madison. So
yeah.
I want people to kind of get that out of their head now. Like, I can't draft this guy anymore. Go draft him. If you liked him and now you're confirmed, go ahead and grab the guy. I don't think 17% of the draft is going to be of BBM is like not a good enough reason not to take a guy. Um, get that correlation. You want him in week 17 against Green Bay because you think Kirk Cousins can't throw. Smart, go do it.
Mm.
Don't let the 17% of guys like stop you from drafting. What about you? What do you think he's gonna go, and what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think he goes right in there. Miles Sanders, Damian Pierce range. He's going to be one of those backs that kind of weird dead zone, which used to be the three, the third and fourth round. That's now the fifth and sixth with these running backs, which makes him a lot more palatable to take. I think really like I don't mind starting drafts like 3 or 4 straight receivers, grabbing a couple of those guys. But yeah, I think he's going to slot in right around there. What about his backups? Do you have a preference? Are you taking any of Dwayne McBride, Ty Chandler?
I haven't. I think Ty Chandler's the pick because he's the
He's
original
the
backup
pat
right
the
now.
pass catcher.
Yeah.
Yeah, McBride is not a pass catcher. The
I
rookie from UAB.
I think that's the pick, but I am waiting until someone tells me otherwise. I am not. I don't watch a lot of these like third, fourth string guys, and I don't pay attention to them. It's something I just don't do, and I apologize in
Makes sense.
advance for not having a take on third, fourth string running backs. But
We're
I
getting
just
buried here. Let's make this pick. We're getting buried here on this wide receiver
no one
avalanche.
likes Mike Williams anymore. I think that's hilarious. Let's grab
Would
Hawk.
do you want to? Yeah, I want to take Hawk here. Do you want to take Mike? I think we need to add a receiver here. I'm good with Godwin.
Let's grab Hawk and Godwin. I can't right
I
now.
know. I don't. I'm not Mike. Not a Mike person either. I don't know the
People are
age.
really. I've seen him fall like crazy now,
I
and I'm
think we're really
happy.
gonna get buried here at receiver. But you know what? We'll try and dig our way out of it. I like getting Hawk with Jettas. I don't do that enough in my own drafts. Um, I feel like the Hawk pick though, I want more so when I don't double tap RB here
Yeah,
because I feel like
definitely.
no, like the room that we're in. I mean, look, just more receivers just going right off the board here. I think it's very likely we get buried here in this wide receiver avalanche, but um, I don't know.
I
It's a fun pairing getting Jettas and Hawk.
in one of
But
the overflows, Mike Williams went all the way to 51. He's seen. I'm on him right now. Oh, you took
he's
Joe. Why would you take Joe from me, man? I know you're in this chat.
Mike's went 51 in this one too.
I'm not grabbing that.
But no, we'll just have to see what receivers are left when we get back because it does not feel very good, very strong right now.
I'm gonna grab Fields. Screw it. We're getting Fields.
So we wanted to talk too in this show a little bit about our high stakes drafts, how they went, and which ones we plan on hopping in. I know you were in a Bulldog. We've touched on it a little bit. How do you think your team ended in there? And what's your plan for high stakes on Underdog moving forward?
So for high stakes, so my Bulldog went okay. I have the reigning champion, Mr. Crane, in it, and apparently everybody and their mother did because everyone's like, Crane's in my thing, Crane's in my things, because I think he's maxing it out. So hopefully we can beat him. Hopefully we can. Um, I think my team turned out fine. I got punished a little bit by Twitter. Twitter said to me that I did not correlate my teams on it. To be fair, it was kind of hard to in that specific draft. And at the same time, I'm okay not correlating because I'm just trying to advance. Um, I think the odds of me winning are gonna be good, I guess, like because I think I'm a good
It's
enough
4 out of
drafter.
12, right?
Yeah, but I think winning the whole thing, like with $5 teams, I think it's easier to like shoot for the fences with like correlating all of your teams through. Um, but for $500, man, I'm just trying to advance and just draft best players. I'm not trying to get cute. I'm not trying to grab a ton of value. I'm not trying to do all that. And I think you can take some sneaky picks here and there. Like I'll take Jamison William and Bulldog because I do think there's a lot of value in a guy like that. But I'm not gonna get cute and maybe like grab Kyler or like force 3 rounds just to get correlation. I see some people do that, and then I'm just kind of I had a guy go robust RB in mine, and it, like completely threw me off, and his team turned out really bad. Like he went like double RB and then pitched Najee like pick 30 or something. It was like really weird. Like it was super goofy. And that team turned out really bad. So I'm just trying to advance. And I think just drafting best players with a good build is enough to get you maybe past 2 rounds. And then at that point it's a crapshoot. Like it's only gonna be 8 teams left in the final. Like how much correlation is really gonna be there?
That's fair. I think that is totally fair. You don't have to as much in a smaller final like that. I know there's someone DK, and I know Levitan touched about it a little bit on his draft strategy over there, but I think that's totally fair. What about moving forward in high stakes? I know we're going to probably get some more contests as the season moves on. I've done a Dalmatian, and then I've done another over on DK.
I mean, talk about your listen. How did your Dalmatian go though? So what did you guys end up doing? What did you end up do? And I know you did 2, I think, right?
Yeah, I've drafted a couple Dalmatians, and I know single entry. I've done them in groups with people just for fun to draft some teams together. The one on my account with my friend Ryan, we did a Trevor Lawrence double. But it was with ETN and Ridley. It was a fun team. I think we there were some spots in it, mainly the ETN pick, where if we pivot to a receiver, we probably feel better and don't have to go 3 QB with Trevor Lawrence because we have another stacking option. But no, I think it turned out pretty good. We're a little rookie heavy. But it's a super fun team, and maybe at the end of the show we'll bring those up, and break them down even better when we can actually look at the teams.
Oh, thanks, Chris. Chris is giving a shout out to my Bulldog team. Thanks, man. Really, like I said, I think it was fine. I got a little bit of crap on it. I did, like I said, I got some I got some stacks. I just wasn't able to grab correlation. So I wasn't gonna force it if the value wasn't there.
I think that's fair.
I mean, like I said, your team. I mean, I saw your team before. It's funny because that's when Trevor Lawrence really started falling ahead of time. Like this is when we saw Trevor Lawrence is in the 60, and then all of a sudden, me and you got him really late in our Dalmatians or our Bulldogs, and I'm like, oh, I'll take Trevor Lawrence at 80. Like I love Trevor Lawrence. I don't think I have any issues with him. I think he can crush his ADP. I feel like people are kind of out on him right now, and I'm trying to find out why, but it doesn't make any. I can't think of a reason.
All right,
I think he's way too good.
We're up here. I mean, we're kind of buried.
I would let's grab the receivers. Let's grab
I got Pickens for sure. I know we don't love Tony.
I'm not a big Pickens guy, but at this point, but
I
grab
mean,
Pickens.
I think we have to grab a couple receivers here. Do you have a favorite of these 4 that are next?
Grab Quentin Johnson.
Yeah, I'm Quentin here as well. Either him or Bateman. That's my only question. We don't really have any.
Bateman's just been climbing that board.
We don't have any correlation with either of them. I'm good. Just not overly reaching on that one. But yeah, we're getting
reach. I would have probably been okay with Cooks. I think Cooks is someone I've been kind of a little bit blinderish on.
Yeah, I've been that way too.
But I do think he's good. I think he's been more than good, and he should be probably grabbing a little bit more of. He's been quarterback proof. He had a down year last year, but it wasn't like he played terribly. It was just that's how bad that offense was, right? Like that's just how bad that team was.
Yeah, I mean he's performed throughout his career with both, good QBs and bad, and so I think the situation for him in Dallas is perfectly fine. It's a little crowded with CD and Gallup as well, but
some of these overflow teams are freaking good. I'm like looking at some of these overflow teams. I'm like, oh god.
Madison goes here at 76.
So he went at ADP. That's where he's at right now. I just took him on one of the overflows. Like I'm at 76
no one's reaching in this one. That makes sense too. Like we know about half the people in this draft. We're not as big to reach. Actually, more than half. But
oh man,
I don't know how far up the board I will chase.
Thanks, Rue. You guys are gonna let me get my boy James Conner and Michael Thomas. You guys are getting the overflow special right now. Davis with the hits. You know what? Screw DeAndre Swift. Didn't even grab him. 12 picks falling. Don't care. Gotta get your boys. Hey, I'm holding up to at least the stream's like tradition of me grabbing my old guys.
Yeah, we're just not on the stream. We
Hit
got a
the
6
banner.
straight wide receiver start here from the 4 hole.
That's a tough one. But that's
Wait, was that
Chris.
someone? Was that Chris? Yeah,
Yeah,
I like
he's
it.
got Madison, his anchorish RB. I guess that's so. I've talked about this in the back. Like I think when you're at 5 already, it's tough to grab that 6. I just
I
don't
lo-
know what like Deontay Johnson does to like. I mean, let's say you have him ranked higher, but my point is like one or two of these guys are gonna be left on your bench constantly. So
yeah,
I
the
think you have
position
to.
is so volatile though, in that too. If you're doing it like good with a 0 RB, I think you can stop here at 6 and be done. And
I like.
what I like about the receivers he picked too is he left himself so many stacking options with quarterback as we go down the board.
I mean,
Stafford,
he also has a stack for week
Gino,
17 with Seattle and Pitts, which is cruel. Um,
yeah.
he
I just
has
like how
Lockett, Metcalf,
he's got so many stacking options.
it's gonna be a tough call though. I
It's
think
going to
when
be a
we
3 QB build.
yeah three most likely a 3 QB. He could double. He could double QB. It's probably gonna be a very like 5 to 6 RB team.
Oh, it's
Three
going to be more than
six.
that, I bet. Yeah, 6 or 7.
Yeah.
I like it. Casey got sniped on Bateman by Andrew. Grabs him there. Not sure if Zay Flowers went or not.
All day with Zay. So this is crazy. So I kind of want to talk about some of the ADP risers. I have been seeing some guys just climbing, and freaking Bateman went from like 110 to 86.
I think that's a testament to how much
People,
camp and this off-season quotes change people's opinions, because Lamar's like, yeah, that's wide receiver 1. He said it one, in a little offhanded quote in a press conference, and boom. And I'm not gonna lie, I bought into it a little bit. I'm not chasing him up as much because my bags are pretty packed with Bateman because I liked him before that
but
quote
the
came
kicker
out.
for this is Lamar's been falling. So
All the quarterbacks have been falling.
he fell a little bit further though than you expect. If anything, Lamar should be balancing himself with the quarterbacks because they were already way too high. But he's been following, and you can actually get him with Andrews now. I've actually seen a couple of Mark Andrews like Lamar Jackson teams. That was unicornish probably 2 weeks ago.
Well, when BPM first dropped, you could get it a little later. And then Lamar bumped up to where the line of the other quarterbacks.
Oh yeah, you're
But
talking day one, day two.
yeah, used to. Well, usually now though, you do have to kind of force it, right? Like I've done a couple times in the puppy talking about like getting unique builds, doing the like Tyreek, Bateman, Lamar, not Bateman, Andrews, Lamar start 1 through 3. I think that's a fun one to mix in.
I just think he's crazy. He's been rising like crazy. We have a lot of quarterbacks falling. Obviously, I went to the third, and then you get a lot, and then a lot of the other RBs are just plummeting too, right? You got Rashad White who's plummeting. You got a couple of the quarterbacks, even in the middle rounds, have been kind of plummeting, like Kirk Cousins and etc. Daniel Jones. So I don't know. I feel like the wide receiver has been just getting there. Like, look, even
Yeah.
in this draft, I feel like some of this is not even like out of the norm. Some people, we could point to our demographic of sharp like drafters and say, well, that's just kind of how this room is. I'm like, that's way more common than you think now. I think people have been buried and hate to some of the receivers later.
I agree.
Just straight up hate them, but they're just straight dodging a lot of good value.
So, I think we need to take Kirk here with one of these. I know it's a reach. And
Yeah, we do. No, it's not a reach. It's fine.
It's 10 picks ADP. It's not much, but when you make this big of a bet on the Vikings, you got to get your guy. As long as GA doesn't snipe him. I don't mind Sutton here to kind of go with our QJ because I still feel like we're a tiny bit behind on receiver. If we can get him, if he doesn't take him, that would be my opinion with these two. But what do you think? Would you have another? I don't love anyone else here either.
No, I think you're making the right call there. Like that's what I would probably do most of the time.
Juju goes. Yeah, I think this makes the most sense, and we just need it, to be honest.
Yeah, we just need it, and that's like at the end of the day, like you're drafting for the teams that will give you points, not necessarily like, hey, I have to get this guy specifically, but we need something to get us points. We are playing from behind right now.
We are, and the good thing is too, like we got our 2 anchor RBs. Like we're counting on these guys to smash. I mean, we could honestly wait until our last 3 picks to add like 3 RBs, and I wouldn't hate it, where we can kind of catch back up at receiver a little bit.
Because I mean, Kirk with like two random wide receivers, sorry, quarterbacks, always feels a little bit better than Kirk. Sorry, no, but let's say Carr or Jordan Love and two random quarterbacks, right? Like, so I feel like having Kirk is just such a solid ground, and we know what he is.
Yeah.
He's a quarterback one that outperforms quarterback ones, but then also performs worse than quarterback threes on some weeks. It just happens. He's very boom bust. His booms are strong. He's one of the few guys that can outmatch a lot of the top five quarterbacks. And that's basically it.
Yeah, I like it. I like the pick.
I'm sorry, Nick. I didn't have a choice. I had too much. They're giving me crap here in the chat because I
In the
dodged
in
Michael
your other
Thomas anymore.
draft.
Yeah, my
Oh.
one of my two overflows. Yeah, I couldn't do it. I already
So
had
this
five
is a this
receivers.
is a good transition here. We talked in the show sheet earlier and about bounce back players. We obviously know Michael Thomas is a big one for you. Can't we've
What
talked.
makes you guess that? What makes you think that? Oh,
I don't know. Maybe the 60% exposure.
it's not
Um,
60. It's like 57.
so
Close.
who's the guy? Who's another? Do you have another one off the top of your head? I've got one, and it's a little camp. It's a little camp buzzy. The one I've got that I'm excited about, and I think it's not like a sleeper or anything, but someone to bounce back this season.
Uh, so the mine is the one I tweeted about today, right? Like I jokingly tweeted it after watching a lot of tape for last night, watched a lot of film. It's just Russell Wilson. Like so I tweeted about him today. Even our buddy from ECR, Mike Leone liked it. So you know what? Take that with what you guys
Well,
can.
that
Mike
means you're
Leone
smart.
liked my Russ tweet. So uh Russ is good enough. I get it. People are gonna always point to him and say, he see how bad he was last year. And I'm like, you're right. He was bad last year. But I could point to three Bronco rosters that were bad the last 3 years. I could point to all three of them and say these were all bad teams that people overly drafted. um, and I do think Russ is capped at some level. Like I don't think Russ
Yeah,
is a guy that's like Kirk Cousins in regards to like really booming weeks, but he is good enough. He's still fast. Like I was watching him run in his like last game films when he was a little bit heavier, and I was like, this guy's still pretty quick. He had two rushing touchdowns like in one game,
yeah.
and they weren't like, oh, he ran in for 2 yards. One of them was like a 16-yard run. He just took off. So he's still a veteran level quarterback. He's only 34. Quarterback that's still pretty decent, guys. I know. His weapons were inconsistent last year, right? You got Judy got hurt. Dulcich was out. Tim Patrick got hurt before season started. KJ Hamler never saw the field. Like it was a bad team. But how do we do? But what happened now is, and Cortland Sutton was the one when he shouldn't be. Cortland Sutton is really bad. Like he looked really terrible when I was watching his
That's a
last like
great eighth
three
round
games.
pick. That we just made.
I mean, he's gonna
Great.
be
He's gonna be
some
great. Yeah,
relevancy,
he's gonna be great
but
this year, of
but we're
course.
taking like eighth or ninth though. That's fine. Like that's what we're
Yeah,
doing
no.
it for.
Where was he? Like
But
fourth round last year, third,
he was
fourth
third,
round.
fourth last year.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, he's the one on this team. He's gonna go off. And I got sucked into. I was like, yeah, 1 year past the ACL tear. Here's the one thing about ACL tear, guys. You don't always come back from them. You don't. It happens. You see a lot of the power, a lot of that burst, some of the things that make these prototype 6'4" receivers come out and then stop being strong. They stop having the ability to beat man coverage and press and so on. And I think this was that case when you look at somebody like Cortland Sutton. So Cortland Sutton's no longer the one. Jerry Judy is, and Jerry Judy really showed it at the end of the season.
Yeah.
So I think
Judy's
that's
good.
gonna effectively show, and when the team plays around that better, if Jerry Judy can stay healthy because he wasn't always the healthiest case, I think that's good.
Yeah, I think it's a good point from GA. It's just like it can't be worse than last year, right? And he's free. I mean, he's QB what 18 right now.
Quarterback 18, pick 130 something. They spent the most money in offseason on an O line. They quote unquote have a running back now because they didn't have one last year. Remember, at the end of the season, Chase Edmonds and Latavius Murray were taking all the touches. That was your two running backs last year. And Latavius Murray still got 100 yards in one of the games, but that team is going to be leagues better than it was the year before. The years before, this team has never been right for the last 3 years. I think the Broncos have just every year found a way to just not be good. And I think a lot of it came down to just them, just having bad roster management, spending, and guys quitting on them, getting hurt.
So we're here on the clock. There's a couple RBs
B-Rob.
we like.
B-Rob.
We got B-Rob. What about our guy Sky we talked about earlier?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I've
Yeah,
been
let's
taking
go
more
with
Sky
Sky.
more. I feel gross doing it, but it makes we have blinders for this guy, and something I always like to preach. It's like guys get better, right? He's still a second round draft pick. Was
Exactly.
perceived as a first round to some people, myself included, coming out of college. I was like, hey, this guy could be a first somewhere, a bottom 32 pick, right? He had a bad year, but it happens. I remember listening to a couple people that were just like, how many rookies do you know do well in Kansas City? Gary Macklin didn't do good. Tyreek Hill was pretty solid. He was probably the only one. McCole Harmon wasn't good. I think it takes time. Um,
I
so
know.
yeah, sign me up.
That was funny. I texted you today. I was like, this is random, and I prefaced it by like, I don't mean this
This is
as
not a joke.
this is not a joke. I was like, are we forgetting about Sky Moore just because? And then we discussed it. He's a second round pick at the end of the day. Like, I don't love him. I think he's more of a gadget guy, but at the same time, I think 11th, 12th round here, like, it's worth a stab at a guy in Patrick Mahomes' offense. And I think a lot of people watching this probably aren't out on Sky Moore either. But it's
Yep.
just one of those, like the blinders. That's a good point because some of these guys you just have blinders for, right? You just Aaron Jones, is another one I talked about a little bit today, where I just haven't been picking him. For a long time, he was going like a round above kind of this tier of running
He's
back.
normally a pick 50
And he
something
still
guy.
is. Yeah, he is at 47. I got him
50 normally.
today.
Yeah.
I got him today, like right here. He fell a little bit. And I took him because I was like, for some reason, I don't have like any Aaron Jones just because I'm taking wide receivers in the 4th round
Or
usually.
or we fall to the other running backs. Like I fall to like Joe Mixon and Dobbins all the time. And I think that's just a bad play on my part. This is even if I'm right. Even if I'm right that Joe Mixon and Dobbins are like the nuts there, right? And they just clean house. I would still say it's incorrect for me to have taken 0 Aaron Jones.
Yeah, well, Aaron Jones, I will say he has been about a round to round and a half ahead of those guys for most of the summer.
Yeah.
So that's where
Oh,
my
that's true. He was a
blinders.
45 guy. Yeah, he's a
Yeah,
45
that's
guy.
like, I mean, you can see it just in this draft. He's at 47. I mean, they're down here at 65, right? Like, there's still that difference there. But I think I've just had blinders for Aaron Jones all off season, and he's not someone I'm strongly have a take against. I think I'm just with the receivers being pushed up, like I'm trying to just not miss out on receiver. And he goes in the more traditional dead zone, and there's competition with Dylan. Like there's
It's
reasons
true.
to question him, the offense, Jordan Love. Like we don't know how good that offense is going to be. So
His red zone
I
usage might not be
definitely
a
don't want
thing.
to be overweight him, but I don't want to have 0% Aaron Jones either. So I think that's kind of a thing to watch for.
I
Um,
mean, well, the second thing I was talking about with that was just like how do you draft Aaron Jones, right? Like how do you asked me like how do you what do you draft him? And I was like, I just never thought about drafting him. But then when I did, it's like, well, I can build because when you take him, you're like, oh, that's my RB1. Well, that's not necessarily true. We know what he is, right? He's a guy that could spike. He's not a traditional like Brian Robinson running back where you get 70 yards and maybe a touchdown, right?
yeah.
And you're happy. You get 13, 14 points, no catches. Aaron Jones is that guy that either gets you like 6 to 7 points or 20, right? There is very much no in between with him. And I
And he's
think
got those
draft,
40-point games too, like
yeah,
in
true.
the bag.
And I think that like drafting him as such is the smart way to play. Like, okay, he's not an RB1 too, but he's like a very strong, like quote unquote super flex level player. And that's how I think people should have been treating him. That's how
Yeah.
we should be looking at him instead of saying, "Oh, if I grab him, he's my RB1." No, he's your first running back, but doesn't mean he's your RB1. Saying that he's your RB1 is like defaulting him. That's my anchor. No, don't play him as your anchor. Play him with like another guy like David Montgomery, who will then be that
Yeah.
your RB1 2 guy, and then Jones just
No,
flies
he's
into the
he's
world.
someone I definitely don't feel confident enough in to
Yeah,
have as like, yeah, like an anchor and then taking like five,
exactly.
0 targets. So
I wouldn't do that, but I think he could be in a strong like double RB build. If I went triple receiver and I fall into like Najee, like Aaron Jones, actually not terrible. Or Aaron Jones into like Joe Mixon. That's also again they're going in the same spot. That's not terrible. But I think like grabbing him by himself, you're just because when you do grab him, he's probably solo, and you're like, eh, you're like, it's Aaron
let's
Jones.
I don't man golf 20 picks past ADP. Carr, we get easy to backstack Carr a little bit.
I mean, we could always grab
We could do
Goff
Dobbs.
and get Laporta.
We could get Laporta. Getting him this far after ADP, I like.
I say we get Goff and
I
maybe
kind
get Van Jeff.
yeah, I kind of like Dobbs here for a little bit of correlation, and I don't take him
Okay,
much.
that makes fair because he does go against Minnesota.
Yeah,
I'm not against that. And then, like I said, we can always probably grab Laporta down the road. And then
I almost might have
once that-
taken Carr there just because you have more stacking partners than just Laporta. But this is a good fall on Goff to get that
I
value.
mean, it's basically this could be a 2 quarterback build. I don't think you have to
I know
force
this
that
is
third.
to me like this is definitely a 2. I wasn't saying Goff and Carr. I was saying take
Oh.
Carr instead of Goff because then we have Juwan, we have Shaheed.
No,
got,
Shaheed's
like-
gone before he gets back to us. I guarantee you.
Where
Somebody
is he?
already probably has him, like just in their
No,
queue.
yeah, 165. It would have been close.
In this room? No way. I think it's gone.
Yeah, that's
Prove me wrong, guys. Let me get Shaheed.
Laporta's ahead of Shaheed. Laporta's ahead of Shaheed, but we have Goff,
I know,
so it wouldn't
but I
make
think
as
like
much
tight
sense.
ends from fall though. versus
Yeah, it wouldn't make
receivers.
as much sense as someone to take him as a one-off, but I
think
like
so.
that. Adopt's someone I don't get enough of, but I mean, he was fairly solid last year. I know he's not like a sexy pick, and I like MVS and I like Van, Nico in this range more than him. But I think on this team where he correlates for week 17, I think that makes a ton of sense.
That's fair. I don't know if I like him a ton.
I don't either. But
I mean, like, so I'm actually when Crane actually talked about in leg up, I was like thinking like this is my exact thoughts. It's what he was saying. This guy might just not have a job by end of the season, or he's going to be the third receiver. And like Jalen Reed is a second round pick on a team that needs weapons.
Yeah.
Right. So although Reed didn't have the greatest profile, he's not anything out there. I'm just like I'm gonna bet on 80. I'm gonna bet on draft pick. I'm gonna bet that there's no overall like what's the
Reed's
chemistry.
also old too, old prospect. So like
Sure, Velus Jones, I get it. I get it. I took some Velus Jones 18 round last year as a joke and it did not work. He was a second round pick. I gotta get it. ADP doesn't always like do a thing, but I mean like at the same time it's like I don't even really like Jordan Love. So why am I pretending that I want any of these two guys either? I mean, sometimes I'm not saying like I'm gonna fade like the team straight out. I am taking the running backs. I am taking some Christian Watson, but I'm not saying I don't know. Maybe that's like a guy I take every now and then. But I just love the tight ends more. I like the tight ends more a lot there. I like the quarterbacks there. There's way more options that I can grab. I think if it was just flat receivers in that boat, there's a chance I'd take some Dobbs. But there's so many good usable starting pieces there, season long pieces to top it off, not 6-game pieces, 8-game pieces, which I think
that's fair. Yeah, I just think he makes sense on this team.
He's going against he's ahead of Van Jefferson and Shaheed. I think both those guys are season long plays. Probably. MVS is a season long play, and he's going around the same space.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think I'm a little higher on Dobbs than you, saying that like, there's only a chance he has like 6 good games. I mean, it's probably true. Like Jordan Love could be just terrible.
I don't say 6. I think he might be in like the starting role for 6 to 8 games. Like I think by second half of the season, he might not even be a guy on this.
I mean, but how many? Like they don't have that. They're not stacked with that many wide receivers in Green Bay.
No, but I'm saying like he might not just be in that 2 receiver set.
Yeah, I mean, Reed is by all accounts a slot though. Like he's an older
for now
slot prospect. I mean, I know like we've seen some slot guys who just come out and dominate, but I'm not as worried about him completely losing a role as you are. But I think that's a fair thing to consider. And yeah, I don't usually take him over MVS or Van. I just did it for week 17.
Yeah, I think it makes sense if you're gonna do that, but I just think I'm like straight out. I'm not fine for it. And I also just don't think the correlation was strong enough for me to want to do that. I'd rather grab Laporta and reach for Laporta because I think Laporta, in his given situation, could just be like this amazing guy.
Do you see where I got Laporta in that BBM earlier?
Jealous.
33 picks past ADP. I don't know why he was still there. That was one of the weirdest rooms I've drafted in.
Dude, remember that when I sent to you a little while ago? I was just like, I posted. I was like, what the hell was this room and why am I in it? Like it was the goofiest team. I had like two teams had a 4th and a 5th quarterback, 4 and 5.
Yeah.
Oh, when Hodgins went this early, man, you guys in the overflow are just ridiculous. I hate you all. I mean that so nicely. But yeah, sheesh, we're going back around the corner on this. Oh, what's left on the board for us?
Well, Laporta is there if he makes it. We'll see if our guy
Juwan.
here, if GA takes him or not.
Was Shahid there?
No, he was not. He went
That's what I
155.
that's what
Yeah,
I
but
thought.
look, Juwan would have been there too. So we know we're taking Laporta. Let's see what else would we like. Jeff. Well, oof, this is tough.
I would probably get Laporta, and then I still think I could grab Jeff Wilson here or Knox and just double down the tight end and maybe dig deep. Our running backs are double elite with a mid guy.
Yeah, we're fine at RB almost, but
I think finishing out tight end here would just be fun.
do you want to do Juwan or I don't know. We could do Knox, I guess.
I mean, we could take either. I think both are going to be pretty solid. If you want the less ADP risk of loss, then sure, just take Juwan. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
If the ADP number out there scares you a little bit, that's fair.
No, it's not the ADP number. I just I don't know. I like to see it with Juwan.
I take a lot of Juwan with my
I do too. Get a little Tampa Bay Juwan week 17 too. We're done at tight end, so now we'll just be looking at, and I like having this anchor allows us to punt. Like we don't have to take the risk on Jeff Wilson because he's not that much better of a bet than the guys we're gonna get at the next time we come around, right? Like I don't think that's the thing. Even though I do have 28% Jeff Wilson, that's gonna be coming down.
That's fair. I mean, it sucks, but let's say we end up being right on it. Like he still is he's still the guy, and Dalvin Cook doesn't go there.
If Dalvin does go there,
Dalvin doesn't go there. Then it's kind of like, well, it's fine. It's 170 is not the worst loss. I mean, Terrence said it earlier. It's like it's 170. You drafted him so late, so it's not the end of the world either way. If the reason I'm not winning my pods is because my pick 170 was a bad pick, I think. No, I think people have gotten way too sharp. People are way too good at the game, and I need to sign off. I need to be. I'm done. Like, yeah, man, I totally goofed up my 16-round pick, and that was why I lost that pod. Like,
you do need to hit on some of these picks, but you don't have to hit on all of them. The good thing too with Jeff Wilson is I have 30% of him, but that's through 45 drafts in Peppy 2, right? If I don't take him again the rest of the time, if Dalvin signs there, that'll be much, much lower. So sample size issue as well for that.
Yeah. And now if I keep taking more James Conner, though, I can get 65, 70%. And it's going to be amazing. I also break it to the chat now. Chat, I have officially, you know what? No, I said officially. I've officially broken $2,000 of James Conner. Just so you guys know.
Jeez, man.
Throw your hands up, guys. Cheer for me, baby. Cheer for me. $2,000 with the James Conner has been finally breached. I think if there was a Guinness World Record for how much someone could spend on a older running back by June 8th, I think I made it. I think I won.
An older running back that plays the 49ers and the Eagles in the fantasy playoffs.
And is on the Cardinals.
Quarterbacks by Colt McCoy and one-legged Kyler.
I'm so down. Okay, let's see. You at least call one-legged Kyler. I'm tired of having people like the fact that we had people drafting one Kyler from like the 130 zone at one point all the way to like now the 160 through hundreds of thousands of drafts is crazy to me. There or thousands of drafts. Thousands of drafts. Thousands of drafts though. Thousands of not tens of thousands. Like
no, I mean it is. There was some big contests, but I think late 3 QB builds, I could still take him, but it would be more so in like the puppy where it's all playoff incentivized.
I don't think someone could convince me to do it. I don't know. It's so tough.
I think there is we could be saying, too confident in the timeline. I think too, though. There's a chance of that.
What? If the Kyler team wins it, if Kyler is the reason I'm losing my draft, then I will clap for it. I'll be so happy for that person. But I'm pretty certain that's not gonna be the reason I'm not winning my pods. Yeah, I'm not gonna say like the guy who took Kyler is crushing me. Yeah, I just don't believe in it. I mean, we this is also the same fact that we're not taking Jameson Williams, an able-bodied first-round pick, 6 games. Like that's kind of the same idea. Like a replaceable position at quarterback, or this like super studded, to some people's mind, super studded wide receiver.
Yeah, I think I don't know. He's gonna play though. Like he's not gonna play. And I get, you think even if he comes back,
I think he's gonna play.
He's not gonna be running.
Really
yeah, I mean the team's gonna be terrible. I get all that. I think it's a fair fade. Like I would mostly agree you're not going to. I just don't think it's like egregious in a 3 QB build to take him. I really
I
don't.
think I think in a 3, if you're building well enough, you can because you are playing for upside. But I've seen him in a lot of 2s. I see him as some people's like really bad 3s. I think you have to take him at least with like a Carr level, Matthew Stafford type guys. I don't think you can run naked with like Desmond Ritter, Sam Howell, and him.
No, of course not.
And I
I
think that's
think
where I kind of draw that line of like, all right, guys, like now we're being way too cute.
I've seen some people throughout the idea of taking him with like a super elite, like a Mahomes, Hurts, Allen, and just hoping those guys crush. And then by the time you need Kyler for that 1 week, he's back. And then maybe in the playoffs, you get by the very end of the season, he's getting closer back to like what he was as a player. You know, if you do it with a super elite, so I think there's a way you can draft him, but I get it. He's not a
I think with that logic, I'd be fine with that. I would be perfectly fine with that. I
yeah.
think that having him as a leader is bad, and having him with really bad quarterbacks is bad. And I think that's where I'm just kind of like, it's
I
just
think
a
that's
bad,
fair.
bad build. But I do think if you said I took him as an elite and I've got him at 170 somehow, I'd be like, he is
What about
probably
at
likely more
one
upside.
93? He's gonna be here on the board for us. But I think we should look at the
I've
running
been,
backs
I don't
here.
know. I feel like flooding him has been. I'm okay with flooding him. Like I just am. I'm just that at that point where I'm at with him. Oh God, my teams are not looking good in these overflows. I just paid a lot of rate today. Thanks, guys.
I did in my BBM, my cardio club one. All right, I got Chase Brown queued here.
Your
I think
cardio club is cool. If you just wouldn't have drafted Michael Thomas,
I
that's me
know.
saying that to you. How dare you draft Michael Thomas by most argument?
I didn't need him. 7 receivers in the first 100. All right, Chase Brown here. I think um, on this build makes a ton of sense. We're not going to be counting on a lot from him, and maybe there's a chance he takes over there at some point.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I like Chase.
We do need to make another pick. I'm good with Gainwell. I'm good with Lenny.
Gain,
I
I
know
would
you're
grab
not.
Gainwell. No, no, no. I actually would grab Gainwell. He is going late enough, and you're going with 2 injury guys. That's fine.
Yeah, I like Gainwell. I think he's getting a little bit
I,
slow.
I've I've been picking up Gainwell lately. I do
Yeah.
think there's a chance that maybe we're wrong on Penny or Swift. I don't like Swift, to be honest. I really don't. Never really have been a big Swift guy. But like both those guys have huge injury concerns. They're both paid on low contracts, just really just whatever contracts, very forgettable. And Gainwell's been on this team. And a lot of us pushing up the other two and letting Gainwell go 180. I think when you pointed this out to me like 3 to 4 weeks ago, I was kind of like, huh, 180, 190 is like not the worst thing in the world.
No.
And I've seen way worse bets hit.
And Gainwell's good. He played really good in the playoffs last year. I think they like him. Like that running back room is not settled by any means.
No, it's not. It really
And
isn't.
I know like we're betting on Swift a lot, and I get it. Swift is fun, and there's been some reports lately that he was really injured last year with a high ankle sprain and the shoulder stuff, which the shoulder stuff has been an ongoing issue for him. So I don't think you can double count that for in his favor. But it's just like Gainwell was good, and I remember watching last year too. Like they wouldn't always bring him out at the goal line. Like I know he's a small back, but sometimes they just rode with whoever was in there. We've seen how many 1 yard touchdowns has Boston Scott scored, and he's tiny. Like
The only thing I hate about Gainwell is the fact that the coach was out there like, yeah, we just kept swapping RBs because we don't think any of these guys are like 3 down guys, and that's where a lot of that like Bijan, the Derrick Henry, all these talks came up is because they just straight up threw all of them under the bus. Like, oh, we don't really think any of them are him. None of these guys are good enough. I'm like, that's cold. That's really cold blooded. I think that kind of just translated that way. And it felt even worse that they brought in 2 other quote unquote talented guys. I don't really think Swift's, like I said, I'm just a little shady on Swift right now, but they brought in 2 other guys, right? Like 2 other high capital guys, a first rounder and a second round guy.
yeah.
And they were like, yo, we need you in here because we don't, basically are saying we don't believe in Kane against Gainwell or Boston Scott.
This is gonna be an interesting last pick we have to make because I do think we need an 8th wide receiver on this team. Our position,
oh yeah, easily.
It's pretty weak. Maybe the Juwan we pushed and we take Curtis Samuel there, or what? But receivers grows regardless. After the
I don't know if I
15th
would have been
round.
okay with Samuel.
I
There's
like
been a
I
lot of
like
talks about
Samuel.
flex tight ends hitting the flex a lot more this year.
Yeah.
I agree. I think we see a lot of like, instead of it being 13% from last year or in general, I think we start seeing like 17 to 20% like flex hits from tight end.
I think it makes sense. And I think next year too. I've already been thinking about the big board next year, which is sick in the head. I know. But I'm gonna be taking just so many tight ends. I'm last 3 picks in that to avoid dead roster spots that far in advance. It's gonna be a lot of tight end late for me. Or
Yeah,
not even only exclusively tight end late, but maybe with an elite taking 2 tight ends late instead of trying to throw darts at running backs and receivers in February and March.
fair enough.
I'm kind of already planning out that game theory.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been all aboard the late tight end. I really have. It's just easy. You're buying full starters. You're buying starters that we know they're not playing in like 3 tight end sets, right? Like I'm not worried about like Dawson. Maybe Dawson Knox is a bad example, but I'm not worried about like TJ Hawkins and sharing with whatever the backup is. Uh, do you want to grab?
We're
So
still 6 picks away. We got to decide here. Our 8th wide receiver is pretty gross here.
that's mean.
Do you disagree? There's some guy you like.
No,
I
no, no.
mean, I take George Hollins.
I'm not taking Dortch or Hollins. I'm not
You,
Dortch.
you
I'll take
can take.
Hollins. I
I
take
would say I've
Hollins.
seen Mac Hollins on your Bulldog team.
Yeah, I take Matt Collins. I was like,
Puka, all
how
these
about
guys.
Corey Davis? Do we have any? No, we don't have any.
Yeah, let's see if we can correlate this last pick.
Yeah, he's not
I
on any of
mean,
these
we could do
teams.
Denver. We already got Sutton.
Palmer, I guess.
We have QJ. I mean, we could take either one of those. It doesn't matter. I'm fine with either one if they make it back to us. I mean, we could take
We
George. We could take Parker,
do
Hollins.
we have anybody? I mean, Hollins. We even have a
I don't
bear.
know the Palmer or Tim Patrick.
Palmer's the only one that would work because
I mean,
I wouldn't take Tim Patrick
well,
right
he
now.
went anyway. I like Tim
But
Patrick.
I like Tim Patrick as a player. I love his story. I just don't think he's gonna come in and do much unless something happens like a trade.
These guys, I think, are guaranteed to play a little bit. I think Puka is. I think
Come
Palmer.
on, let's not do Puka right now. Like this guy that no, I'm not doing the Puka
All
team.
right, fine. Let's take one of these 4. I'm cool with Hollins. I think he's guaranteed to play.
Yeah, I think Collins is guaranteed to play.
He's not a fun pick. He's in the.
I mean, like we're
Falcons.
not like you're hearing a lot of like that Puka 2-2 talk right now. And I'm just like, but why? Like I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm not sold on it. Like I still think that even if they did play, I think they're fourth options. I think Tyler Higbee's option number 3 on that team, or even if not number 2. And Benny Scow is still in this depth chart somehow. And you know how this like Benny Scow wasn't really good most of the time, but that man has found himself in all sorts of big games. You know.
Yeah.
Ooh, you want to get your 50th puppy in?
All right, let's review our team. We got Kirk Cousins and Jared Goff at quarterback. I like the fall we got on Goff there. It was a little didn't get him obviously with any of his main stacking partners, but we did get Laporta late. We got Hawkinson with our Kirk as well, and Juwan as a third tight end. Running backs: Derrick Henry, Ramondre, B. Rob, Chase Brown, Kenneth Gainwell. Good half PPR running backs up the gut guys besides Gainwell. And
Ramondre catches a lot.
Ramondre catches a lot of passes.
Chase
Like
Brown
90
catches a
passes.
lot. He's supposed to
Hopefully. I
catch.
mean, well, we hope so.
I hope they don't go up. They go 5.
Receivers, I will say we got a little bit buried in a wide receiver avalanche there, but we got our guy. We got Justin Jefferson. He's kind of like our anchor receiver in this build. Godwin, Pickens, QJ, Sutton.
I was thinking about that one day. I was thinking about like I'm gonna just pitch anchor receiver teams and see how Twitter takes it. Like this is my anchor receiver. I got Justin Jefferson, and then my second receiver is like pick 99 or something.
All right, Andrew wants us to roast his team. Let's take a look. Goes double elite QB on a bye, which we'll see. I mean, since they're you should need that extra 25 points because you're going to be blowing out the rest of the teams in here.
Yeah,
with those 2 elite guys. Running
Um,
back room, super fragile. 0 RB team here with Rashad,
Yeah,
James
rough.
Cook. B run.
I do think
It's
this
a
team
rough
needs
RB
its.
room, Andrew. I
Yeah.
won't lie.
I think he definitely needed a 6 RB for this one.
I
But
think he
that's fine.
needed a 6th. What do you go? He goes 8 receivers on this team.
Receivers are good.
Yeah,
At
8.
least it's
Love your
pretty on paper.
receivers. Love the receivers. I probably would have made Terrace Marshall, 6th running back in this build.
I don't know. Oh wait, no. So he's top.
And,
Okay, never mind. I see the problem. It's Pitts. It's freaking Pitts. That's the problem. I was like,
Pitts
where's
isn't a
this missing
problem.
middle pick? Yeah.
Pitts
I think
isn't a
taking
problem to me. I
it's
would
a
have
problem
made
on this team.
I would have made this a 2-7-7-2, and I would have stopped with Pitts and Komet and made Gesicki and Marshall running backs and
So
made this a 2-7-7-2.
so whenever we're not taking wide receivers, we're detouring, right? He took 3 detours
He still
on his
got
path.
3 really good receivers though,
But
and then
he
I
yeah,
think Bateman's a good 4th. Like, I get what you're saying though.
he triple detoured and he got rid of a possible anchor RB, which I think would have really helped this team a lot. That's tough. I think when you took Fields, you can't grab Pitts. There's just no way.
Yeah, he got Gesicki here with the week 17. He's got a big bet on Buffalo, New England.
Yeah,
on this team,
and that's fine. I
think it's
still
okay.
needed Pitts. That's rough.
Yeah, I think Pitts. I would have just made Marshall and Gesicki running back darts, even though, I don't know.
If he makes Marshall Mac Hollins, does he get correlation points for that? I mean, he has the Bears Falcons, I guess. That's cool.
Terrence, this is your username, right? You wanted us to roast. All right, we got Hurts, Purdy. I actually like that QB room.
Yeah, it's fine.
Totally fine.
A little reach on the Hurts though, but it makes sense. He wasn't gonna get him back. That's the bet. You're not getting him back.
Got good value on Mixon, Cook. Got Kamara a few picks after ADP as well. Kamara's a tough one. I kind of like that you get kind of Kendra through the early season, and then Kamara comes in late, or they kind of bounce back weeks or something in the playoffs. That could be fun, especially on a team where you got 2, hopefully reliable guys. And then Lenny, I'm fine with. I think Lenny's going to sign somewhere, and
I think he will sign.
A good pass catching back.
I'm not a big Kamara guy, but I get it. Like, it makes sense when you combine those together. I think a 6 running back would have been nice though, because Mixon's your first, Kevin Cook's your second. No, actually that's fine. That's fine.
It's okay.
It's a pseudo anchor. I'll take it.
All right, Adams, receivers. Jamore, Jameson, Nico. I like these receivers.
I like the receivers. I don't know if it needs Richie though, or
a slight bit thin.
It's 2.92. I don't think it needs 9. Why? How's this team thin? It has 3 up top.
Jameson Williams as your 4th receiver, who's going to miss 6 games.
He's just betting on Jameson to be like good, right?
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, no, it's not. It's not. And then, I think this is why I think it's a little, because he invested a lot at tight end, which I think is fine. Stopped at 2. Kittle and Freiermuth. I like him.
Yeah.
I might have not done Freiermuth and it did too late, and then got a better receiver here. But at 110, it's tough. The receivers do dry up there, so I think it's totally fine.
This is totally fine. I mean, if you're gonna draft Kittle, and I like Kittle with Freiermuth more than like Kittle and some rando tight end.
Yeah, Freiermuth's gonna be so reliable this year, or at least my 35% of him in Puppy 2 hopes so.
Kittle's probably your flex, so that's totally fine.
Yeah.
No, it's a good team. I actually like this team a lot. I don't get creative enough for this, but I do like this team, even if it's not the players I like.
I think it's fun.
Alrighty, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hour and 10 minutes. We did pretty good. Before y'all go, please like and or subscribe and share with a friend. I know we catch a lot of people who do replay watches down the road. You too can also like and share and send it to your friends and subscribe. Yeah. Other than that, we're gonna be back on next Tuesday, right?
We're gonna be back next Tuesday. I think this weekend at some point, either Friday or Saturday night, I'm gonna be coming back with a solo stream. First one of those. In about a month, we're going to come back and get in here. We got to get through these Puppy 2s, right, before it fills. So I think I'm going to do a draft where I come on and multi-table 3 or 4 at the same time, and we hang out, maybe have some drinks and stuff. So keep a lookout for that. Not sure what night it's going to be, but it's going to be fun.
Yeah, we got to get these 150s. I'm like at 53. Obviously, you're at 49. We're at over 50% of Puppy 2s. I'm going to get it. I'm guaranteed chat. I'm getting my 150 in.
Absolutely.
All right. See you guys next week.
See ya.